I'm not mad about this race at Michigan. I just feel sad. How's it going, everyone? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. And yeah, like I said in the intro, I just feel sad after watching the Firekeepers 400 or whatever it's called at Michigan here. Even though I just got done watching Clint Boyer's Victory Lane interview, and he did his best to try and cheer me up because he's a funny dude. But man, I can't help but just feel sad after today's race. And not sad so much because the race itself was bad. I mean, I know we had the rain delay and it ended up getting rain shortened, but that being said, the actual racing product I thought was decent. I thought we saw, a lot of good restarts. We saw some good battles for the lead. We didn't see any one driver just dominate the race. I know Harvick led for a while there in stage 2, but even that being said, he didn't dominate most of the race, really. I mean, we saw some interesting pit strategies work for different drivers. I mean, we had Casey Kane use pit strategy to actually lead a couple of restarts there and lead for a few laps, which was kind of neat. You had other drivers play good strategy to get better finishes. I mean, the restarts were good, 3-4 wide, your typical Michigan stuff. It was kind of hard to pass with the aero and the speeds and everything that they were carrying. You had some spins here and there, some drama, drivers getting mad at each other, like when Logano and Kyle Busch were kind of jawing back and forth on the radios. You had some interesting, some good moments. So that's why it's hard for me to pinpoint why I'm sad. I think I'm just sad about the results more than anything. NASCAR hasn't uploaded the final race results. I know they're having timing and scoring issues, so I can't look up exact finishes, but I know about where everyone was. I'm upset because while Kevin Harvick didn't win this race did nothing to help change the narrative from the kind of troubling one we've had this season. The narrative this season has been, hey, watch the sport for the young drivers. Well, the young drivers sucked at Michigan this week once again. I mean, you had, the race started out, Bubba Wallace wrecks himself and David Reagan. Later on, you had Kyle Larson, one of the race favorites, who's won here 3 races in a row. He spins out all by himself. Later on, you have Daniel Suarez spin as well, and who else was involved? Stenhouse at the end of the race spun out as well. You had all these young drivers were responsible for basically every major wreck. So the young drivers sucked, and if you look at the final top 10 finishing results, the top 7 drivers are all veterans. You have Ryan Blaney 8th and Chase Elliott in 9th are the only 2 young drivers to have somewhat respectable finishes. So I'm grumpy because of that, because I wanted this to be a race to hell where the young drivers could show up and do well. I thought Blaney would have a great race. He had an okay race. The finish maybe doesn't show exactly how well he ran, but still, you got to get the finishes. And can we talk about Hendrick Motorsports for a minute? Because that was another key takeaway. Hendrick Motorsports, we've spent the last couple weeks, they've been running better. Top 10s, top 5s. We go to Michigan, which has been probably Chase Elliott's best track since he's come into the Cup Series. And Hendrick Motorsports was garbage in this race. Jimmy Johnson was running outside the top 20, ran outside the top 18 all race long. I don't know where he finished exactly, but I know it had to have been outside the top 15. I don't think he got past that. In fact, for almost the entire race, the only Hendrick car that looked decent was William Byron, and he was barely able to hang on to a top 10 spot for most of the race. So Hendrick Motorsports went back to what we've seen all season long, and is why nobody's treating them as a serious championship competitor despite the high pedigree drivers that they have in their stable. So that's got me feeling kind of sad because I wanted Hendrick Motorsports to continue to move forward like we've seen at Charlotte and like we saw at Pocono. They started to run well, and then they come into Michigan and you got Jimmy Johnson running 30th towards the end of stage 1. That's just, you just can't let that happen. I'm not happy about that. Stewart-Haas Racing dominated, and that's fine. Clint Bowyer winning, honestly, is great. I really like Clint Bowyer winning, but the problem is if you look past the fact that Bowyer won, you'll see that he only won the race because they gambled with the weather, took 2 tires, got a decent restart where he barely held off Kevin Harvick, who has dominated this season and had every right to win that race. And if not for the rain, I think Kevin Harvick was going to win that race. So it took a rain delay or rain shortened race and a gamble on pit strategy to beat Kevin Harvick. And while I'm very glad Clint Bowyer won the race, it doesn't deny the fact that Kevin Harvick still looks like he is by far the best team in the sport right now. And that's fine. I know there's Kevin Harvick fans. Obviously, you probably like the race, and that's understandable. I'm not a Kevin Harvick fan, and the majority of NASCAR's fan base are not big Kevin Harvick fans. Kevin Harvick's a good guy, good driver, but it's getting old because he's won he's won like a third of the races this year, more than a third if you count the All-Star race. So, you know, it gets old to see him dominate week in, week out. And, you know, if you're a Kevin Harvick fan, I'm sure you enjoyed the race. I'm just saying. Even Martin Truex Jr., who after winning last week and everyone was trying to throw the narrative, including myself, saying, wow, it looks like Truex is one of the top 3 championship contenders. He might be able to run with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. He went out there and just wet the bed this weekend at Michigan. They couldn't even crack the top 10. So you just had all these drivers, a lot of drivers that everyone wants to root for. Everyone wants to root for the young guys. They sucked. Everyone wants to root for Hendrick Motorsports. They sucked. Everyone wants to root for Martin Truex Jr. to break up that Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick party, and he sucked. This race, while the racing was good, and I want to sit here and celebrate this Michigan race for having good racing, all these other factors that go beyond the racing, just as far as the results on track are concerned, just has me concerned for the rest of this season. I really want these young drivers to do good. The ones we expected to do good, like Larson, Chase Elliott, struggled. Larson with that spin especially. Even Eric Jones looked like he might finish top 10. He had a pit road penalty because that team, including Jones himself, just seems to never live up to the big moment. So this Michigan race just seemed to be like a collection of all the negative storylines out of different NASCAR teams this year. They all reared their ugly heads in this one race. But this race on Sunday, while the racing was good, the race was good, I have a bad taste in my mouth because I'm not excited about the summer storylines we're going to start reading and seeing for the next few weeks. I mean, let's just summarize it. The race starts, rain delayed, okay, that's fine. We find out that JGR, 3 of their 4 cars have to go to the back with a suspension issue, so that's just another wrench thrown into the thing. Then the race actually starts. We see all these young drivers spinning out, like Wallace, like Larson, like Suarez, like Stenhouse. They all have issues. We see the typical Kevin Harvick dominate. It was fun to see the JGR cars drive through the field until Jones had a pit road issue, and then once Kyle Busch got up to 5th place, he couldn't pass or catch the SHR cars. I'll give Paul Menard a shout out for making a good strategy call, and I think he ended up with the top 5, so that was nice. But at the end of the day, Hendrick Motorsports was a complete non-factor. Jimmy Johnson was scraping by on the tail end of the lead lap half the race. Chase Elliott snuck into the top 10 at the very last minute. William Byron was never better than 9th on the racetrack. Bowman, I didn't even know he was in the race. So you had Hendrick Motorsports struggling like they have the first third of this season. You just have a plethora of issues that we've seen come back. It just feels like this whole weekend just feels like a wash. This is just a reaction video. I'll make a video in the next couple days that actually talks about the race itself and more analyzes some of these storylines I'm hitting on. I just wanted to give this reaction first. I'll leave you guys on a positive note. I'm very glad to see Clint Bowyer win this race. Clint Bowyer has been probably the second best Stewart-Haas racing car this season. He won at Martinsville earlier this year, and he was consistently in the top 5, top 3. They made a good, gutsy pit road call that worked out luckily for them, so they needed a little bit of luck to beat Harvick, but that sometimes is what it takes to beat somebody who's as good as Harvick is. But I'll leave you guys on that good note. At least it was fun to see Clint Bowyer get a win. So that's nice. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'll be back in a couple days, probably maybe tomorrow actually, with a full-on recap of the race. I'm sorry this one sounds negative. I just got done watching the race. There's just emotions getting the best of me. I'm not really thinking a week or 2 ahead at this point. I'm just looking at what I just saw, and it's almost like it's funny to me, honestly, that so many just kind of negative things happen to teams that needed good days. A lot of those teams I just talked about, the young drivers, Hendrick, Roush, JGR, needed good days, and they didn't get them. And I just think it's hilarious in a way that they all had bad days at the same time, and the rain just coupled it. It just seems like this race weekend just was a mess. The racing was good though. We can hang our hats on that. It can be improved, obviously. I'll talk a little bit about the Xfinity package and compare that to some of the other things we've seen. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But, you know, as it is, I thought it was an okay race. Just upset with the outcome for a lot of people. So thanks everyone for watching. Leave your comments down below. Follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. Links to those are in the description. Thanks to our Patreon sponsors right here. You too can sponsor the show and future episodes as well. And I'll see you guys later this week. So have a good one, everybody.